All right, let's get started. So this is yet another event in the Safe by Density series. I'm joined by my co-host Leanna Castello. Hey, Leanna. Um, Leanna is our VP of Customer Success. She takes care of our customers. I'm a co-founder at Density, and I lead our product and design team here. Um, so really quickly, obviously crazy times at the moment, but people are trying to get back to normalcy, and density's played a part in that for sure. So mostly we'll be talking about how density's been helping our customers get back to business, get back to school. We'll also be just introducing some of those products more specifically, and Leanna will go through some very specific examples as to how those products have supported customers in the and density in the real world. Really quickly though, I just want to talk about density. Density is a network of sensors that you can string up across your portfolio or property. It's threshold based, so you put it above your door. Leanne is circling what our sensors look like there. So we spend a lot of time on how they look in the space, since they do exist in the space. They all work together to produce a count of the space that they're assigned to. So they'll monitor entrances and exits through entryways. We then calculate a count for the space that they encompass, and we deliver that count through a dashboard and an API. Really quickly on how that works more precisely. So these sensors are not cameras. They use depth, and they monitor activity beneath them. And more importantly, they're looking for people. So we get all this information back from the sensor, and we assign these depth values to grayscale color values. And then we try to black out anything that our algorithm doesn't detect as a person. So on the left, you're seeing like the raw data that our sensor is looking at. On the right, you're seeing our algorithm filter out everything and count only people. And that's how we get to such high level of accuracy and create such a reliable data source. So all this is happening on the device itself. And then we have a series of interfaces and some infrastructure that helps expose it to you as a property manager or workplace lead or your patrons directly. And you can do that through a series of alerts, through SMS messages, and then we also have a mobile application that you can download from the App Store that just exposes occupancy in real time. And then later, Leanna will get into some of our more like super admin tools. So density has been in business for a while, and we have the luxury of sort of seeing activity in spaces across so many industries. And when COVID started to ramp up, we watched people leave, and it happened very quickly. We weren't sure how to react, honestly. We weren't sure what kind of impact this would have on our business, but we chose to just take some time and think about how we wanted to respond, knowing that, or at least having a general understanding that people would want to come back. And when they came back, we felt like it was really important that we give them, we felt like it was going to be really important for them to actually measure occupancy in a way that was more mandatory than it had ever been before. And we wanted to ensure people knew that they could do that without invading privacy. This is a core tenet of density. All of our data is anonymous at the source, and there's absolutely zero potential to capture personally identifiable information at any time as data moves through the density infrastructure. And just a really small tidbit, like just emphasizing how weird it might be when people do come back. One of our customers said handshakes are dead, which is just always weird for me to think about. So people are trying to come back, and certainly using density to do so. So Leanne, you want to take it from here?
Yeah. And as you saw on the last slide, things that Density was thinking about when we were developing this suite of functionality to help our customers reopen their businesses, come back to their workplaces, is this two-sided problem that you saw on the previous slide. One is actually keeping occupancy levels at a safe level. So you know, that your workplace teams are able to have targets and monitor those targets. The other side of that is perception of safety and getting that safe information of how crowded spaces are to the people that are the patrons, the students, the employees that are coming into those spaces, so they can feel secure and make health and safety decisions on their own behalf. So we categorize the functionality that we've built out into these three buckets. One is display. So this is some functionality that we have that you can put really easily on digital signage to show people in your spaces how crowded those spaces are. You can actually enable like a wait go functionality of whether or not a space has exceeded a safe occupancy level and whether or not people should continue to enter that space or wait until they go in. Alerts. So being able to notify the respective security teams, facility teams when capacity is starting to get approached or when you've actually breached safe capacity, so that the people that have authority can take action and make sure they're consistently facilitating a safe environment throughout the day. And then lastly is analytics. So you as a workplace leadership team, someone who's managing cafeterias, being able to see after you put some policies in place and see how those are being adhered to over time within one space across your portfolio is really valuable, so you can make sure that you're able to understand the efficacy of the policies that you're putting into place and help evolve those over time as it makes sense based on, you know, various health and safety guidelines that are coming out or whatever is right for your type of business and your type of patrons visiting your space. So we're going to walk through a few customer examples more specifically. So safe display. So this is a snapshot, and you saw on the previous page, of what safe display looks like. This takes data from the density platform and just puts it into a long-lasting URL that you can then add to any digital signage. So this is super easy to set up. It's configurable, like the messaging, exactly what you show on the display, etc. And we're seeing some really great adoption of this across customers in a variety of spaces. So we have corporate environments where different types of industries have had to go back sooner than later or stay in their offices throughout the pandemic because of being in essential businesses. And they're using this type of technology in places like bathrooms, amenity spaces, lobbies, to help their employees understand, you know, how crowded spaces are before they go and determine where they're going to spend time or, you know, which bathroom you might use, that kind of thing. In the education space, we're seeing this used a lot in libraries or cafeterias. Similarly, so that students know, maybe even before they make that decision to leave their dorm room or leave wherever they're at to go get lunch right now or go study in the library, whether or not there will be safe capacity for them to enter, and whether or not they'll be able to, you know, make the best use of their time. So alerts, this, we talked a little bit before, this has been tended to be used by security teams or facility teams, people who on the ground are able to take action or, you know, help control the influx of people into a space. And this is something that's super easy that users can set up in the system for themselves to let them know, hey, when you're reaching an unsafe or reaching a certain occupancy level, and then when you've exceeded an occupancy level, so that you can then create workflows, take action as needed to keep people healthy and safe in your spaces. Something else a lot of our customers have been facing is a big spending on cleaning. So if you are keeping your spaces open, you're probably having your janitorial staff rotating in key areas more frequently. And the interesting thing is that you probably aren't using your spaces uniformly the way that you used to, because you have a, you know, ramped down overall capacity of people who are actually coming into your buildings, your places of work, your dining halls, etc. So we have a number of customers who are using the density data to help inform their cleaning practices. So two ways they're doing this. One is to trigger more on-demand cleaning. So after a certain number of visits, I want to make sure, especially to a sensitive place like the bathroom, I want to make sure that someone's going in and doing a deep clean to just make sure that we're keeping that space extra clean given the amount of traffic that it's receiving, and then over time understanding patterns to inform more routine cleaning. So hey, maybe you have your office space at 20% capacity, but those people are tending to spend more time on a certain floor. The density data would help inform that so that you can make sure you're cleaning the spaces that are actually being used and not cleaning as frequently in spaces that aren't used with high frequency. And then the last example is monitoring effectiveness of compliance and policy. So this is an example from a customer that happened to be using us pre and post, pre-COVID, and then as through the shelter in place, and then as they brought people back to work. And the really nice thing is they were able to monitor when they did their essential service, they did have some really low level capacity of employees coming to their space over the period of time where shelter in place was largely in a policy across most of North America. And then as different locations started to release shelter in place restrictions, they started to gradually bring back some of their workforce. And they were really pleased to see that and have a way to track, hey, if I say something like 30 or 40% of my employees are able to come back to the office, but it's not mandatory, what percentage are actually coming back? Could I ramp that up? Do I need to ramp it down to make sure that adherence to these policies or these square foot per person or occupancy targets are being met? So definitely seeing this in terms of overall global portfolio management for our customers. And then we're also seeing it for individual use cases like those restrooms or cafeterias to understand, are they going over capacity at certain times of day? What other policies do we need to put in place to make sure that everyone's staying at safe occupancy levels for whatever our spaces are? Okay, so Rob is going to take it away from here and show you a live demo of how all of this looks in the actual platform.
Totally. Okay. Can you see this, Leanna?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So I'm logged in as a demo user. So we're in Acme Inc. So this is all dummy data. That's why you're maybe seeing some flat lines here. We basically simulate a day, and we open this up to customers too. They could use this as a platform to test against. But what you're looking at here is a building. So you can install density at the building level, at the floor level, and at the room level. So you can measure different levels of granularity. We have four or five, well, really five major components of our software. We have a spaces view, which is just an overall summary of your portfolio listed in a hierarchical list. We have an analytics view, which allows you to create custom reports, and I'll get to that in a second. You can then sort of package up those reports in a dashboard and expose those and share those with your team. We have a dedicated live view, and then we have our safe displays. So this view has like a ton of information all at once. What's kind of cool is you can see data coming in live, so you can get a sense in real time how the space is behaving. You can see over the course of the day and just kind of scrub and pick out patterns in that way. And then we have a list of out of the box reports that you can export and change the time frame for. In our analytics view, you can actually create these reports from scratch. We pre-populate recommended reports based on the space functions that you've defined in your space. So you can get started very quickly, or you can create your own. So you can create a custom report that allows you to see trends and compare that data across spaces. That's the primary benefit of this particular view, as opposed to spaces. You can create as many reports as you want, customize time frames, select any number of spaces that you like, and it's all pretty fast and snappy. You can then expose these in a dashboard. So this is where we think density becomes really powerful, and that you can actually collect this information and share it with your stakeholders and highlight information you think is really important. We also have some additional reports that provide more specific insights. One that's particularly relevant right now is square feet per person. So companies are using this to validate whether or not they're actually giving employees enough space to social distance properly. It's sort of our leaner way to tackle the social distancing policy process. A lot of people are going for contact tracing, but that can be quite overwhelming. You're getting into wearables. So there's a lot of nuance to that we think may be extraneous. So we're trying to simplify that and just say, are you giving employees the tools to be safe? And then how are you tracking against that? So you can share these reports in an email, or you can sort of send recurring digests. Essentially, you can schedule them every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at a specific time to a user list, and it will send that out on a recurring basis. Lastly, and probably the most applicable product we have for the times that we're living in is our Safe Displays product. So you're able to create displays for as many spaces as you see fit, and customize those displays to some degree. So for the 4th floor here, let's say we want to create a space and we want essentially to alert our users as to when it's safe or to enter, or when they should essentially stay put. So you can expose that. You can also actually change the sidebar layout. So you can have a message here. You can make it go full screen, or you can actually add a space list. So this is particularly popular in lobbies. So let's say I also want to show the 1st floor, and I also want to show the 2nd floor. You can actually list not only the floor that they're currently on, but the floor they might be going to. So before they get there, they can make a decision as to whether or not they want to travel. One super popular use case that we're focused on right now, this is like a running joke, and that we didn't start the company to manage bathroom occupancy, but it's these are rooms with closed doors, private rooms. So our customers are trying to expose the safety of them to their patrons in a way that's obviously protecting people's privacy. So people are putting these up out in front of bathroom doors, and you can see in real time the occupants update, and then when it exceeds the capacity, turns red, says, hey, hold on a second. With more historical data, we can also expose a wait time, not always used for bathrooms, but helpful in larger spaces. That could be pretty personal as well. One feature I realized I just forgot to demo is this is also where you would create alerts. So in this case, we have 2 alerts created. You can create as many alerts as you'd like. You set a trigger, so anytime there's greater than X many people in the space, notify me one time, or every 30 minutes if that value continues to be exceeded, and you can send me an SMS message. We have some cool features coming out for alerts that expand on the metrics you can trigger on, and also adds email as a delivery option, and more robust list management. So that's our platform in a nutshell. It's robust. If you're interested in a more detailed demo, please reach out anytime. Yeah, always happy to walk people through it. Back to you, Leanna. I think we're on to questions.
Yeah, we're on to questions. We have a few questions come in. So first question is from someone who is a BrightSign media player distributor in Mexico, and wanted to know if they can use BrightSign with our equipment. So just a quick flag, I'm not as familiar with that particular technology, but the way that you'd use digital signage or anything like that with our equipment is that as long as the digital signage has a browser functionality where you can actually display and pull up a URL onto that browser, you should be able to be compatible with the density application or that safe display. And I don't know if Rob highlighted it as much on this call, but effectively, if you remember seeing that list of safe displays, each one has a long-lasting URL associated with it. So at any time, you can go and copy that URL to your clipboard and then add it to your digital signage. The next question, oh, sorry.
No, cursory glance at BrightSign. It looks like you guys do have an application to manage the displays themselves. So you would just, if you have a way to embed an iframe or anything like that, Safe should work out of the box for you.
Great, thanks, Rob.
Hmm.
The next question is, can we see people flow from one room to the next?
Totally. In the abstract, we have some exciting features upcoming that might expose that in a way that's a little more intuitive, over top of a floor plan. Wink, wink. Um, so there's some improvements coming out that'll maybe make that more explicit, but absolutely. So you can chain these sensors together and essentially get a sense for which doorways are the most active, and it helps illustrate sort of how people are actually moving through space through these thresholds, essentially. So you have these common paths that you can sort of create in the abstract. Totally.
And one thing to add though is because of the way our technology works, we have no way to track individuals. We only know, we're sending light down, we're reading the how far away that light is when it bounces back up to the sensor. So we won't be able to tell you that person A walked from, this particular room to this particular room to this particular room, but we will be able to show you the general flow of traffic ins and outs through doors over the course of the day, so that you can piece together roughly how people are moving through your space and where they're spending time. Great. The next question is, do you interface or partner with hardware to allow or limit access? An example would be a turnstile to go with the display to allow people to prevent people from entering a retail or grocery store when it gets over capacity.
Yeah, so we haven't had that use case implemented to date, but we can definitely do that. Our pride and joy is our API. So we expose this data both historically through an API, but also live via webhooks. And so it'd be pretty simple as long as those turnstiles have a way to essentially interface with the count in a space. You could essentially lock the turnstile or something like that. I think that's sort of what you're hinting at, but we try to make integrations pretty simple, and really push people to build on top of our API if possible. But we don't have an active partner with that explicit integration, as far as I'm aware of, and I'm pretty sure we don't.
Great. Next one is, can you show a floor plan showing which spaces are more occupied than others?
Yeah, I'd say so. Tune in a couple of weeks, and I'll be able to answer that question. Probably shouldn't be saying this on a webinar, but it's exciting, and yeah, I think it's something we've been exploring for a long time. We've historically leveraged other tools to help do that. IWMS tools and so on. They can plug in our data and display that, but we're starting to invest in that in some respect. So stay tuned.
How do you connect the data to the screen?
Um, I'm not sure how technical I should be with that particular answer, but obviously the screens are connected out of the box, or at least our displays are. Now again, like, we don't sell the physical displays or the whatever operating system is powering those displays. So a common installation we see is like with an iPad, for example, that has internet connectivity. You simply go to Safari on your iPad, you plug in a URL that you've created through our density display management system, and it will authenticate and start displaying density data. The displays that you've created in Density's density management system are automatically tied to density spaces, which are tied to density sensors generating count data. How was that, Leanna?
I think that was great.
All right.
Yeah, so the way the data passes through is the data goes from the device to the platform to that display, and it's just, as long as you have a browser enabled digital signage that can connect to the internet, load the URL, and you'll be able to have the real-time density data flowing into your digital signage via Safe Display.
Cool.
Great. Those are all the questions that we have for now.
Yeah, awesome. Oh,
Question. Actually, a few questions popped up. One is there a power backup? Like, how does power work?
So there's no power backup on the device itself. So there's no like battery or supercap or fallback system on the sensor. So if there's no power being provided, the sensor will shut off. Um, that being said, typically we're powered from switch boxes, so it's all PoE. And then if you lose internet though, the devices will remain counting. And then once internet connection's back, you will upload those events historically. So no power support, but we're able to keep counting even if internet goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, and to talk a little bit more about power, our sensor uses power over Ethernet. So you can plug into a switch or actually plug into an injector. So you can plug it into an outlet just like you'd plug in your phone. And the goal and why we developed it that way is then you have a live constant stream of power to the device, and you don't have that overhead of having to switch out a battery every 3 months or 6 months, which can be a lot to manage, especially for our customers that are deploying at scale.
Exactly. Cool. Is that
Okay,
it?
I think that's all the questions, Rob, and I know we're
All
coming
right.
up at the half hour, so
Yep.
thank you
Totally. This was
everyone for
great.
joining.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.